What is happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel. First things first, make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. And George, for the first time since 1966, a long time before we appeared on this planet, England are back in a major final. And I tell you what, we certainly did it the hard way. Just scraping through in extra time against the Danes, who put up some stiff opposition for Gareth Southgate last night. What were your thoughts, George, on the lineup to start with? Bukayo Saka coming back in on the right hand side. Do you expect that to happen?
I mean, I had no issues with the lineup personally. I think, Saka offers that pace in the front three that we need, and we've said all tournament, I think Kane and Sterling pick themselves, so it's just a question of who plays that other side, and you could make a case for any of the players. I mean, Sterling could go over to the other side. You could play Grealish, play Sancho, Rashford, but ultimately, I think he likes Saka for the ability where he's got no fear. He's got certainly looks like one of the pacier of the three. And yeah, I had no issues with the lineup or the setup. I thought it was pretty much standard how he was going to go. And yeah, I mean, what a night of football. Like you said, mate, we definitely did it the hard way, as we all expect. And our first real, even if you take Germany out of the context, our first real big test where we, had to come from behind. We had to show some resilience. We had to show some calmness at times and soak up some pressure in. Again, despite it wasn't, again, a vintage performance, we managed to tick the boxes and made history. So, listen, like many England fans out there today, I'm rather a bit tired, a bit emotionally drained. But hey, is it coming home? It's the big question.
Well, right, we're one game away now, so it's a distinct possibility for sure. George, in terms of that first half, it wasn't great from England, was it? I thought it was a slow start. The Danes were playing some nice passes in the midfield, getting some nice triangles going, etc. What were your thoughts when Mikkel Damsgaard steps up and smashes that free kick into the back of the net? I personally feel that Jordan Pickford, given where it went in the net, I don't want to be too critical. I think he should probably do a bit better.
I'm not going to be critical on the goal, because I don't think it was a foul in the first place. I mean, everyone's just bundling over each other in the box, similar to when Maguire got the yellow card for the apparent elbow. I mean, what's he supposed to do there? I mean, he's got to go for the header. Yeah, Denmark impressed me first half. They settled. It looked like the occasion got to England a bit, and we were sitting back trying to soak up some pressure. And Denmark played some lovely football, and for a goal to concede in your first in the tournament, it's not a disgraced one. Fantastic free kick from Denmark, and even though it went in, I almost felt that was a blessing for England. I felt like that we needed that to happen to wake up a little bit and to almost teach us a lesson that we can't take these games for granted, and that not everything's going to go our way in this tournament. And that's exactly what happened. And that was pretty much the crossroads then of, had we progressed as a side, and had we learned anything since 2018, because it could have been typical England from that point on to then not get things going, not respond, and then end up losing the game. But we didn't. And yeah, first half Denmark were brilliant, but I felt as the game went on, I think like you alluded to just before fair, I think that the difference was the substitute and the legs and what we could offer in the later stages, and certainly in extra time.
And obviously, going a goal behind, the first real sort of moment of adversity we faced in the tournament. What did you make of the response from England from going behind, sort of the kind of getting straight back into it 5-10 minutes later? Were you impressed with that response?
Yeah, I think it was probably the most crucial stage of the game itself, because I think the longer the 1-0 went on, I think if Denmark go into half-time 1-0, I think the panic starts to set in. And regardless of what Gareth Southgate says and anything else, I think it's only natural for England, being so close so many times and not bridging that gap to reach the final. I think inevitably it would have got the better of them, maybe perhaps. And Denmark still looked dangerous. Even when we finally got the equaliser. But yeah, it was so good to respond early as well, which we did. We got it in about, I think, 8 or 10 minutes after the goal. So really positive response for England. That was probably our best spell of the game, actually.
Yeah, I have to say, like, a quick response is absolutely crucial, because the longer you're a goal behind, the more kind of you get concerned, can we actually pull this back? You know, the crowd start getting on your back a little bit. So I think a quick response was crucial. But obviously entering the break at 1-1, by no means a disaster. There's going to be no easy games at this stage of the tournament. The second half, it wasn't great, was it? It wasn't vintage. I thought, look, we created some opportunities, and I must say, I thought Kasper Schmeichel was absolutely outstanding in his performance last night. Some great saves, particularly that one where can you believe how he kept out Maguire's header from that free kick?
No, he was unbelievably good. It's a shame he must look at his own individual performance and think, how on earth was he not on the winning side? Denmark, but crazy good from him. Shows his experience. And if you look at the other end, I mean, Jordan Pickford, certainly his worst night in an England shirt for quite some time. I mean, every time he had the ball, he either missed the pitch completely and cleared it out, or he's mistiming it, or coming out punching for balls. It was a bit of a liability last night, I have to say. But luckily, his worst game's behind him, and we still ended up winning the game.
Yeah, just quickly on that, mate. Is that a concern for you? Because obviously we've seen a couple of lapses of concentration from Pickford. You know, the one where he comes charging out of his goal against the Ukraine, and there's been a few. His distribution has not been great, but obviously last night it was particularly poor. Is that a concern heading into the final for you, Pickford's distribution, or just put it down to a kind of a bad night and he should be back at it for the final?
Well, there's nothing really we can do because he's our best goalkeeper, and Southgate's not going to change it. So it's one of those things you just got to put up with. I think the nerves probably got the better of him. He does see a lot of the ball in the game, probably because of the way we play, quite conservative. And Denmark, again, like Italy will press high. So it is a concern of mine because Italy are even better at it. So I just don't understand it from goalkeepers, how they've got a whole pitch and they manage to clear it and miss everyone. It just baffles me sometimes. He's usually got good distribution, so it's definitely a concern of mine going into the final because like I've said, Italy are going to make sure that they've definitely spotted that and they're going to utilise that high press. So let's hope it's just down to a bad night, that one.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so. But in terms of the 90 minutes is up and we're heading into extra time, I guess like the nerves are going up at upper level on this one. Were you surprised that Gareth waited so long to introduce more substitutions? You know, because we made one in the 90, and then we waited about 5-6 minutes into this first period of extra time to make any changes. Was that perhaps your one main criticism on the night, that the changes were too late?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that he got it wrong because ultimately, again, we've got the result. So you can't argue with when he made the decisions. But for me personally, again, it's just far too late. I mean, by that time, Denmark had made, I think, they'd made 5 substitutions. And, when you're going into extra time, I mean, why on earth? We had an extra time, the break, and then 30 seconds into the first half extra time, the subs come on. Why on earth why didn't he just do it in the break? And, that's a classic example. If we ended up losing that game, people would be like, well, it's because people were knackered. We didn't have the fresh legs on. And you can use 5 substitutions, so get them on. And, as soon as Henderson and the rest of them came on, Jack Grealish, I know, was sacrificed. I don't know what's happened there, but I can only assume that they wanted to keep Sterling on because of his pace for the counter when we do get the ball. But other than that, pretty harsh substitution. But yeah, I was, again, just far too late. He needs to make those substitutions earlier for me.
Yeah, I think in terms of like players having enough time to make an impact on a game, you've got to be coming on earlier than that. But ultimately, I don't think we can complain because the result's gone our way. So it's hard to be critical. Just on that point though, mate, do you think there's anything to be read into the fact that Grealish came on and then he was hooked off? Or do you just think it's as simple as Southgate wanted to go 5 at the back and he wasn't going to take off Kane or Sterling, so unfortunately it was going to be Grealish? Do you think it's as simple as that?
Yeah, I honestly do. I don't think there's any sourness there. I think it was a tactical decision. He wanted to, again, it's a decision that's quite dangerous to just sit back and just accept that we're going to just invite pressure. But he's decided to go 5 at the back, bring Trippier on, and then therefore you're not going to take off your captain. And I think he wanted Sterling on just for the pace. If we do get the ball and able to keep it up there. And unfortunately, the game changed at that point, and Grealish was the only player that you could sacrifice. But the one thing Grealish would have offered is, inviting those fouls, which would have been quite useful in extra time as well. So I could make a case for him staying on the pitch. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things. I'm not going to say that I don't think there was anything personal or he didn't fancy Grealish or anything like that. I think that's nonsense.
Yeah, I think he's just a victim of the circumstances on the night, unfortunately. But George, heading into obviously as extra time's progressing, we have the major point of the game, really, the game-winning moment. What did you think of the penalty award in itself? I thought it was very soft, to be honest. I thought there was minimal contact, if any at all. Are you surprised that wasn't overturned?
Yeah, I've looked at it a few times actually since the game's finished, and again, I still can't decide whether it's a penalty or not. So really, by the letter of the law, it shouldn't be given because it needs to be clear and obvious. For me, you could make a case that he gets, both of them make some sort of contact where he gets forced to go down than others. So you could just feel, I think if it was given against you, you would be fuming. But look, we've had plenty of luck against us, and as England, I think we've waited long enough to have something go for us. So, and like Ian Wright said in the post-match, I think you have seen those given in the Premier League as well. So I think, it was a much of a muchness, but ultimately, again, even the penalty was scrappy, but we don't care. We don't care.
Yeah, just on that penalty, mate. What were your thoughts when Harry Kane was stepping up? I thought he'd be certain to score it, but that penalty was absolutely shocking. And talk about sort of everything falling into place and your luck being, and you've had the Thomas Müller through on goal, which 9 times out of 10 he scores. I mean, the gods are obviously shining down on us in this tournament because the penalty's terrible. It gets saved and it just pops straight back into his lap. I mean, you just couldn't make it up, could you?
No, it's one of his worst penalties in his career. And like you, mate, I was sitting there thinking he's certain to score from how he takes penalties that I've seen. Usually very, very confident, picks a corner and buries it. But you can't replicate the pressure. Captain of England, semi-final, knows it's a huge opportunity, and Kasper Schmeichel is playing out of his skin. But I mean, how much luck do we want to get? I mean, it's not just the miss; it's the fact that it's come back to him perfectly. Literally, you're talking millimeters to the left, or it hits Schmeichel differently, and Schmeichel picks it up, and then could be a completely different game. Because imagine, if we'd missed that penalty and it ended up being saved, what are they thinking psychologically then? I mean, just shows in football, and certainly at the very highest level, it is literally margins between the sides, and luckily, England's luck does seem to be in at the moment.
Yeah, mate. Fine margins, I think, sums it up perfectly. And just heading into just how big an achievement, George, is this then for Gareth Southgate and this England side to finally make a final? Shake off that semi-final curse. What sort of an achievement do you think this is? Do you think this is enough of an achievement, or do you think we've got to go and win it now?
No, I think he keeps his job first and foremost. I think he's done an absolute fantastic job and proved a lot of doubters wrong. I have to be honest. It's regardless of what happens in the final now, we have made progress. We have buried that curse of the semi-final. For him personally, it's a huge achievement, burying the kind of 96 heartache of when he was responsible personally for not getting England into the final. So I think he can kind of bury that hatchet. And for this team as well, their first experience of a major final for us, nothing since 1966. So it is quite literally a once in a lifetime moment and opportunity. But I think a lot of the players are quite screwed on. Our celebrations weren't as much as say the other semi-final where Italy looked like they'd won it already. Yes, there were celebrations, but everyone who spoke on the in the press afterwards said that the job's not done and we need to go one more. So a huge opportunity, mate. Italy is going to be tough because they're probably the most informed side in the tournament, and they've got the quality, probably unlike Denmark in some areas. So, yeah, but Southgate's done a wonderful job. So have the England team. I'm proud of them. And as a fan, it's just, I think we both said, didn't we? If we reach the final and end up losing, yes, we'll be disappointed. But ultimately, we have made progress.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly there, mate. Look, it's always disappointing when you get to a final and the result may go against you. But if you take a step back and look at it, making a final is progress. I think all you can ask for is progress from the previous tournament, and we have done that. But we roll on to Sunday, massive game now. You could probably argue the biggest game in England's history now, up against the Italians at Wembley on Sunday evening. It's going to be a very tense affair, but once you get to a final, it's anyone's game. So hopefully, the boys can do us proud and bring it home. But if not, it's been an unbelievable effort. And, it's a big opportunity. So let's hope they can grab it by the neck. But yeah, that's just myself and George's thoughts on the game. England finally reaching a major final for the first time since 1966. As always, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the match preview for the big game.